But this is all old news, but we're not told about it. Like, did you know that many oil wells were on land in the South Island?
No idea.
A Maori chap up in the upper South Island that I've had a couple of chats to, he was part of a committee a government and iwi committee that were working on the plans of setting up a refinery near Murchison. Anybody ever hear about that? No, shut it down. The iwi were quite keen on there being a refinery near Murchison. The locals were quite happy about it. Government mothballed it. I'm not national, I'm not Labour either, I'm not Conservatives, I'm not lawyer, I'm not all these various things, playing South Island. And this is one of the things that is also drawing a lot of people together is Solomon doesn't talk about left, right, centre, anything. It's the economics and the people. And this is one of the things that we need to continue on. We're talking about the Irish independence movement. One of the things that they did, they kept all politics out of it. It was left, right, centre, whatever. We'll figure it out after we're independent. And that's the approach I have, is once we've set up a South Island Parliament, a Southern Assembly, get everybody together, then you can figure out whether, left, right, purple, whatever. Until that point, no, we secure our community, we secure our island, we secure our future and our kids' future. So there is safety in numbers, and we are starting to get the numbers, which is quite exciting. It was good timing, wasn't it? And this is it. We actually have to take a stand. The thing I saw at all the protests and all the meetings and all these other things during the lockdown and anti-mask and anti-mandate and all this other carry, everybody was standing up saying enough is enough. Nobody had a plan. We need to bring that energy back. We need to bring that fight back of no. Collectively, no, we're not playing your game anymore. And it's, again, we're not having any more rubbish coming from the North Island, we're not taking any more of the edicts, we're not taking any of the World Economic Forum suggestions, the UN suggestions, China's suggestions, anyone's suggestions. This is our island, sod off. We will decide on the basis of the merits as we as the South Island see them, not how we're being dictated to from suits on the other side of the planet. I'm getting ahead of myself, it's great. How many of you guys remember the Anti-TPEPA Act?
Yeah, I remember.
How much gusto was in that? Where'd it go? We need to bring that back. All that gusto. How many of you remember the yellow vest movement that started out of France? We know they all wear the yellow vest and it was like, no more regulations, no more edicts, no more any of this. And that comes out of France. And France has some quite funky ideas on how it deals with unruly politicians. It's quite amusing what comes out of there. But let's bring it back. How many the Occupy movement, that was definitely more left wing than anything else. But that gusto, the Anti-TPPA Act, let's bring back that gusto. We've got the World Economic Forum. No one had heard of the World Economic Forum 15 years ago. How many of our politicians? I don't know what the World Economic Forum is. He says having photos taken of him outside the World Economic Forum. Yeah. And this is the thing. We have to actually say no to China, the UN, the World Economic Forum, all their clubs, associations, we don't care. You're on the other side of the planet. We are as far away from everybody as everybody is from us. No. If the North Island wants to go full North Korea, good luck. Wish you all the best, and if you ever change your mind, we'll be here and we'll have a chat and we'll help you out. But we can't keep doing this, and we actually need to bring this gusto back to the movement. And again, it's not political. I don't care if you're left or right. I don't see that. It's the same bloody bird, or nut, depending on how you want to look at it. We can't keep doing this anymore. I saw these issues, my dad talking about these issues when I was 12. My dad and his friends didn't do anything about it. My oldest is now 12. I'll be damned if I'm going to stand by and let my children do a job that I could have done. And for them, it's going to be a lot harder for them than it is for us. We've still got movement. We've still got wiggle room. It was actually funny. I got invited to a explaining smart cities speech in Timaru today. One of the guys he's like, Solomon, I know you're opposed to this stuff, but I really want you to be there and people to see you there, so people on your side of the fence are seeing our explanation of smart cities and why they're good.
Was this a council, wasn't it?
It's organised by one of the groups up there, and guess where I'm not. I'm not at a smart city explanation, promise, guys, it won't be that bad, we promise. I'm like, yeah, we've heard that before. So, we actually need to actually put a stop to this. It's the old example of you go out drinking with a couple of your mates and there's always that one guy who just has a few too many, and it's not comfortable to say, Bob, you've had enough. We are actually at the point where we have to say, no, you have to stop. This doesn't go on any further. You're ruining it for everybody. And this is what we're dealing with right now. Little fun topic of if the South Island were to become independent. And I will acknowledge there is some people who don't like the idea of the South Island going full independent. They'd rather us be a state. I'm unconvinced. It just looks like more trouble. But if the South Island were to become fully independent, following standard maritime border laws, if the Chatham Islands, who I'm sure we could offer a plenty nice deal to, that red line is where the border would go. The South Island is not poor. We are not disadvantaged. We have so much potential and we're not allowed to see the end of it. The New Zealand produces enough food to feed 40 million people. 40 million people. There's only 5 million people in this country. How many people do you know who are having to, cut down on their grocery budgets because they can't afford to eat? Or their children can't afford to eat. I know a few. How is that possible? We're the food bowl of the South Pacific, one of the food bowls of Asia, and we can't, and our children are struggling to eat because we can't afford it? How?
Sorry, just to interrupt, but
Go for it.
I use the example of my work, and I work with a whole lot of old farmers. Every single person I talk to about this, like, oh, cut the cable, but not one of them will do they're too scared to do a thing. They won't do a thing.
Do you know why?
Nothing. They won't do anything.
There's actually a really interesting reason behind that, because I've seen this a lot. In the USSR, there was something called hypernormalization. It's a mass psychological effect where everybody knows the situation is wrong, but they can't see a side of it. It's called hypernormalization. Everybody knows it's wrong. Everybody knows the KGB and the secret police are here, and everywhere, but we can't see another option.
They've also got an invested interest.
They do have an invested interest.
They've got their house, they've got their land,
They've got some. Do you know who the easiest people to control are? People that have something to lose. This is an advantage I have, being self-employed and having a bit of time freedom. What are they going to take from me? I'm good. Let's go. What was it? The most dangerous thing in the world is young men with nothing to lose. We've got problems. It's good, but. What was the key to breaking the USSR? Show them a glimpse of what's possible. If you can show them a glimpse of what's possible, they will do this. This is the thing, is when I've done street polls, once people figure out I'm not pulling their leg or, playing a prank, 8 out of 10 people that I've spoken to on the street fully support the idea. But but I can't see it happening. Cool. So we get a few more people around and they start seeing it. The perfect example up in Christchurch is a few of the lads that we started doing a weekly meeting with up there. They saw the Facebook page, they saw it was great, they liked the idea, but it wasn't until they came to a physical meeting and they saw 5, 6 other guys, they're like, oh my God, there's other people. Other people see this too. There's other people that think this way. I had no idea anyone else existed who thought this way. And guess what they're doing? They're telling everyone. And the more. It's one of those things where if, we've got everybody here, if everybody, next time we did this, brought one person, just one extra person, double the numbers. Everybody does that again. Suddenly we're struggling to fit in here. We do that again. Well, I guess we're having a day picnic because not everybody's going to fit inside the room. And this is what we need to do. And people are willing to hear these ideas if it's explained to them and they can actually see people are serious about making this happen. There's a little fun I have, because one of the issues that we have is, the South Island's too small, it couldn't possibly be a country. That's the Netherlands, Belgium, Cyprus and Switzerland and Luxembourg all fitting in New Zealand, and there's room to spare. You can still fit Wales and a half dozen other smaller countries in the South Island. The South Island's not as small as you think it is. Again, but people don't know this. They think, New Zealand's this tiny little country down here, and the South Island's half that size again. There's nearly 12 European nations that fit in just the South Island. And they all work pretty all right. Well, arguably some of them. Netherlands is doing all right, Switzerland is. So, brass tacks, what do we want? One of the issues that you saw at the Wellington protest, now I know a few people that went up to the Wellington protest and I've had a couple of really good conversations, and there's a lot of conflicting stories about what happened, who happened, like all the bits and pieces, and the government not talking to anybody. And one of the arguments that the government had is, there's no one to negotiate with. Nobody has any clear demands because, there's half a dozen groups, they all have different demands, etc. What actually happened, I don't know if anybody will ever figure that out. But one of the key things is, if you're going into negotiation, whether it's with a friend, a business partner, or you're going to, rack up, the local association or council or whatever else, what is the key thing you have? A key list of demands. Like, this is our non-negotiable. Having the likes of, greater autonomy. Cool. The South Island, and again, this works whether it's, whether we're a state or fully independent. Cool. We call the shots. Southerners call the shots. Southerners elected by Southerners, and we actually get a say. Here's a novel idea. Southern taxes stay in the South Island. Like I said, the South is tax positive, yet Dunedin can't build its hospitals. Christchurch's hospital has no parking and they can't afford to pay for any more of it, surrounded by Agri Park and the rest. And how many roading issues? How many services? Over on the West Coast, I think they're down to a medical facility that you have, a medical centre you have to pay to use, otherwise you have to get shipped off somewhere else. South Island's going downhill, so novel idea. South Island produces a fair amount of tax. We don't have, not a lot of people, work in the South Island or have worked and done their due. Cool. Southern taxes stay in the South Island. It's a novel concept.
We need a hospital.
Yeah.
Can I,
Absolutely.
alright, we're taxed 80 cents on the dollar.
Yep.
Okay, that's slavery, but just
There was a revolution on a continental way over a 3% tax, so, carry on.
The Federal Reserve, our taxes are not going into our infrastructure. They're going back to pay a loan that the government has granted to a private company that is just printing money out of nothing and handing to us and saying, hey, here's the money, and you also owe us interest. So the whole monetary system needs to be looked at.
Can I say the Wizard of Oz much?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And I was in the warehouse the other day, and I had to buy some stuff for home, and I tapped my card. I'm like, hold on, that's not real. What just happened? I performed the magic, and suddenly I can leave without the goods. I don't perform the physical ritual of doing that. I'm not allowed to leave that store. I'm like, hold on, this is all I have. How much real money have you recently, or at scale, known people to hand over? Where's the money? Money. It's not real. But it is real. Because enough people believe it to be real.
What is
Cool.
real is that there's people who are working and that
That sounds like an over a beer conversation, that one, but yes, you're right. But no, you're right. It's a have, but the other issue you've got is so many people are still locked into, but it has to be real because I've always believed it's real. And people are quite stubborn on their belief systems. If somebody does want to have a conversation, I don't have that conversation with them. I'll talk with them where I can talk to them, but you're not wrong. So, yes. Now, one of the things that I talk about is, the southern districts and regions and stuff like that. The reason I've gone with that, kind of a little bit on this token, is don't fix what's not broken, and it's better to use things that are familiar. People are more likely to accept them, because if I heard you guys talking about, it's everything needs to change and then full restart and all this other carry on, yes. But if people aren't familiar with the concept, or if it doesn't look like what they're used to, they'll reject it. Not only are we fighting those who really shouldn't be in the positions they're in, but we're also fighting the people around us, and that's just a waste of time and energy. And how many groups spend all their time and effort either fighting each other or fighting the council or fighting the courts, and it's just like, if you put this energy into actually building your own communities, how much further would we get? You attract more with honey than vinegar. No northern interference in southern affairs. That's a hardliner. And for those in the know, the Magna Carta and the 1688. So in the book out there, I've written up a general what people in what we'd refer to as the freedom movement have agreed as would be a solid constitution. It's just my idea of what I think could work. I'm not saying I'm an expert on any of this. It's more than welcome for review and other people to take part in it. But there's a concept for you. If we actually had those, not necessarily those as such, but if you had something like that put on the front of every courthouse, every council, every public hall where people knew their rights and what our fundamental rights were, we probably wouldn't be in the mess we're in. Because, like you alluded to before, is people have to be fully informed to agree to something. How about we fully inform everybody and people know what they're agreeing or not agreeing to? So there's some concepts on the matter.